Hey everyone, it's Lex Lianos with Compass in Northern Virginia. Before we start the video, please do me a massive favor and subscribe to our channel. We bring you this content about once a week and we'd love to let you know when it's ready. All right, here we go. Today I'm going to be talking about 6 things you should consider before buying a house. For many people, owning a home brings a sense of pride and freedom that you don't get when you're renting. The average wealth for someone who owns a home is $250,000. The average wealth for someone who rents is $5,000. But there are a few things that you should know and you should consider the pros and cons before you get into home ownership. The first thing to consider is determining how much you can afford. One of the common guidelines to use is a debt-to-income ratio. All right, that's how much you make versus how much you owe. Most lenders suggest that your total debt-to-income ratio should not exceed 38%, and that your mortgage debt alone should be less than 20% of your pre-tax monthly income. I know that's a lot, but let me say it again. Your mortgage debt alone should be less than 28% of your pre-tax monthly income. The second thing to consider is figuring out the right mortgage to choose. Since you are likely going to be financing a loan for hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's crucial that you make a smart decision. A bad mortgage can significantly affect your finances over time. The most common loans come in 2 styles: fixed rate and adjustable rate loans. A fixed rate loan will provide stability for you. The interest rate won't change over the term of the loan, and your payments will remain the same and stable. One benefit with a fixed rate loan is that if interest rates go up, you continue to pay the same lower rate. On the other hand, if rates go down, you may be paying more than the current rate. With our rates right now in the low 3s, it's hard to conceive of a scenario where the rates go down even further, but it is possible. Even if you are paying a higher rate and the rates do go down, it is possible to refinance in the future. The second option is an adjustable rate loan. Now, it's exactly what it sounds like. The interest rate adjusts over time. It's usually fixed for a period of time, 3, 5, 7, 10 years. And then after that point, it adjusts usually yearly. And it's usually the prime rate plus an increment above that. So if interest rates go way up, you could start at 3, but end up, in year 10 or 15, paying 7, 8, 9% if the rates go up that high. The benefit of it is that it usually starts at a lower rate than a fixed rate loan. The con of it is that the rate could go up much higher than the rate that you started on. Number 3, you need to consider the down payment. If it's a traditional mortgage, you would probably want to do a down payment that's 20% or more. And the reason for that is that if you do 20% or less, most lenders are going to charge you what's called mortgage insurance, or they're going to add on a small little payment onto your monthly payment for mortgage insurance. And that's basically just an insurance policy that covers the lender in the event of your default. If you're above 20% down payment, they feel that you're lower risk, and so they don't make you buy that insurance policy for them. All right, the fourth thing to consider when buying a home is equity advantage. A major benefit of owning a home is that some of your monthly mortgage payment comes back to you in the form of equity. When you pay rent, you will never see any of that money ever again. So when you pay your mortgage, part of that payment goes to interest and part of it goes to the principal. And that's your equity buildup. The fifth thing to consider is the tax advantage of owning versus renting. So you have a couple of tax advantages when you own. So number 1 is you get to deduct the interest from your taxes. Now, under some new tax rules, that's capped at $10,000 a year. Every dollar you pay to your lender in interest, you can deduct off your gross income for the purpose of taxes. So the effect of that is the government is subsidizing your mortgage payment at whatever your current tax rate is. So if you're at a 30% tax rate, basically 30% of that interest comes back to you in the form of no taxes paid, right? So if you had $100,000 in income and you paid $10,000 in interest, the government is going to tax you as if you only made $90,000 that year, which is a huge benefit. The second tax advantage is that you get to pay no taxes on the gain when you sell your property. Let me explain that a little bit more. So real estate is an asset. In theory, it goes up in value over time. On average, that's 3 to 4% historically over the last 100 or so years. All right, so if you own the property for 10 years, you can expect roughly 40% appreciation. So that when you go to sell it, so like say you paid $100,000 and you sold it for $200,000. That $100,000 of gain is actually tax-free. If you've lived in the property for a period of time. So investors don't get that advantage. They have other tax advantages, but the government allows you to write off or not pay taxes on $250,000 of gain on your primary residence if you're a single person, or if you're married filing jointly, they allow you to write off $500,000 or not pay taxes on $500,000 of gain on your principal residence. That's a massive tax advantage to owning. Okay, and the last thing you should consider is the potential negative consequences of owning a home, right? So you have less flexibility when renting. So if you want to just up and move to a different part of town or a different part of the country or to another country, you have to go through the effort of selling your house, where you don't have to do that when renting. The other is unexpected expenses. And by that, I mean repair expenses. For example, you might have to replace your HVAC system, which could cost you $10,000 to $12,000. You could have to replace your windows, which could cost you $20,000. You could have to replace your roof, which might cost you $5,000 to $10,000. None of those things you will have to do if you are renting. So the benefit of renting is that it allows you increased flexibility, and you don't have to plan for expenses down the road, which you do have to do when you own a house. Now, I'm a firm believer in home ownership. It's a massive wealth increaser, and I think you should give serious consideration to doing that. But there are some benefits to renting. If you're only going to be in an area for a year or 2 years, you want to try out an area, renting is a superior solution to buying in that scenario. You also could potentially lose money on a house. There is no guarantee that you're going to make money in real estate, right? Over the long term, on average, yes, you will. But if you have to sell because you have a life event or you have to move and you're in the middle of a market that's crashed or a down market, you could lose money on the deal. I hope this video has been helpful as you deliberate whether to buy or to rent. As always, if you have any questions, my number and my email are on the screen. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Buying a home is a long-term commitment, and you should seriously consider all the pros and cons of doing so. All right, have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.